Welcome! In this explainer, we're not just talking about finance in general. We are diving deep into a very specific architectural strategy designed to move you from a standard, salaried life to a place of genuine financial choice and ultimately asset ownership.
All right, so today we're zeroing in on step 6. And listen, I need to be really clear about this right from the start. This isn't one of those save a few bucks on coffee tips. Nope, this is a core architectural step in the system. Getting this right, it changes everything. So, you ready? Let's dive in.
You know, I want to start with a paradox that I think a lot of us find really frustrating. We see these stories all the time, right? The doctor making $250,000 a year who's somehow still living paycheck to paycheck, while a school teacher on a modest salary quietly retires a millionaire. It just feels like the math is broken. But it's not. What this really shows us plain as day is that wealth is not an income problem. It's a retention problem. It's all about what you manage to keep.
What's so fascinating about this approach is where it comes from. This whole strategy was developed by Tamir Kaham, and he's a systems engineer, so he's not your typical finance guru. He looks at money with an engineer's logic. But here's the twist. He's also the official Hebrew translator of the richest man in Babylon. So what you get is this amazing combination of modern, hardcore systems thinking blended with financial wisdom that has stood the test of time for millennia.
So, let's get our bearings on the journey map. We are right in the thick of stage 2, what we call the launch sequence. In our last explainer, we covered step 5, which was all about stabilizing your cash flow. You can think of that as sealing the fuel tank on our rocket so it doesn't leak. But today is the turning point. Step 6 is where we finally turn on the pumps and start actively filling that tank. This is the moment we pivot from playing defense with our money to playing offense. To really get this, we first have to tackle a really powerful myth that holds so many people back. We've got to deconstruct the high-income illusion.
We've all been there, haven't we? We're all conditioned to believe this little story we tell ourselves, that just a bit more income is the magic bullet that will solve all our financial problems. But as you're about to see, this kind of thinking, it's a trap.
So let's put on an engineering hat for a second. High income, it's a lot like high velocity. It's not the same as displacement. Think about it like this. You can be in a race car flooring it at 200 miles per hour. Sounds impressive, right? But what if you're just driving in a perfect circle? You end up exactly where you started, just with an empty gas tank. All that speed, all that motion for zero progress. That's what a high income without savings is. It's velocity without displacement. And that's why we have to remember, wealth isn't about the speed you earn. It's about how much you actually keep.
So why does this keep happening to us? Well, the culprit has a name. It's a psychological principle called Parkinson's law. Just like work expands to fill the time you give it, your expenses will always rise to match the income you have available. You get a raise, and for a month, maybe 2, you feel rich. But then, well, you find yourself in a slightly nicer apartment, ordering the craft cocktails, adding the appetizers. Your brain doesn't register that as surplus capital. It sees it as upgrade availability. Your default state, without a system, is always zero surplus. Okay, so if our own willpower is kind of doomed to fail against this, we obviously need a better system. So let's look at how we can build one by just flipping the entire equation on its head.
This slide right here, this is the absolute core of the entire strategy. See, most people live by the broken equation on the left. Income minus spending equals savings. And as we just talked about, that usually ends up being 0. The Golden Path demands a hard, non-negotiable flip. It's income minus savings equals spending. You decide what you're going to keep first, and then whatever's left over, well, that's what you have to spend.
Now, we've all heard the phrase, pay yourself first. It's become such a cliche. But what does it actually mean from a systems point of view? Think about it. When you get paid and the first thing you do is pay your landlord, the gas station, Netflix, you're basically acting as a funding source for their empires. You're an employee funding their asset ownership. Paying yourself first is a declaration. It's you saying, I am funding the asset owner that I am becoming before I fund anyone else. Your financial freedom becomes the top priority.
That all sounds great in theory, but, how do we actually make it happen in the real world? Let's get into the nitty-gritty, the actual mechanics of building this saving muscle. We do it with a really cool concept called engineering scarcity. By yanking your savings out of your main account the very second you get paid, you create the situation where for the rest of the month, you feel just a little bit broke. And this is powerful because it triggers your natural human adaptability. Instead of using that adaptability to find new ways to spend more, you harness it to figure out how to live on less. You just unconsciously adjust. It's kind of brilliant.
And this brings us to a rule that is absolutely non-negotiable. This process must be automated.
Any system that relies on you having to make a good, disciplined decision every single month is a broken system from the start. Your willpower is a finite resource. So the one and only action for step 6 is this. Set up a standing order, an automatic transfer, for the exact day your salary hits your account. The money literally vanishes into your future before your present self can even see it, get its hands on it, or get emotional about it.
Now, doing this is going to bring up some tough, very practical questions. So let's talk about what the real goal is here, because, well, it might not be what you think it is.
This is always the first question that pops up, right? Okay, fine, I'll automate it. But how much? The standard advice you hear everywhere, like 15 or 20%, can feel totally impossible when you're just starting out.
The answer actually comes from a gym analogy. You'd never walk into a gym for the very first time and try to bench press 300 pounds, right? You'd crush yourself. You start with just the empty bar to get the form right. It's the same here. For step 6, the actual amount you save is almost irrelevant at first. The goal isn't the number, it's building the habit. It's forging the identity. Because if you can't build the muscle and the discipline to save $10, you're never going to save $1,000 when your income grows later. And now for the most controversial question in this entire strategy. Why on earth would I save money in an account that's earning me, 1% interest when I have this credit card debt over here that's costing me 20%? I mean, mathematically, it's a guaranteed loss.
Look, if you were just a spreadsheet, a robot running on pure logic, then yeah, of course, you'd pay off the 20% debt first. The math is undeniable. But here's the thing, you're not a spreadsheet. You're a human being, driven by psychology and habits. This strategy puts saving before aggressive debt paydown for a very specific reason. It forces you to build the habit, the muscle of creating a surplus first. You see, you have to fix the driver, that's your habits, before you can really fix the car, which is the debt. Because what happens if you don't? You pay off the debt, but the old spending habits are still there. And pretty soon, the debt's right back where it started.
So when you get right down to it, the true return on investment for this step isn't measured in interest rates. The ROI is psychological. It is the identity shift. You are proving to yourself, month after month, that you are no longer just an employee who spends everything they make. You are becoming an asset owner who keeps capital. And that shift in how you see yourself, that is worth more than any market return you could get at this stage. Before we wrap up, we have to pause for this important disclaimer. This content is strictly for educational purposes. It is not personalized financial advice, and there are absolutely no guarantees of results. You are responsible for consulting qualified professionals and making your own informed decisions.
So let's recap the big ideas. First, wealth is what you keep, not what you earn. Second, you have to flip the financial equation and automate your savings to pay yourself first. Remember, the goal right now is to build the identity of a saver, consistency over intensity. And this sets us up perfectly for our next explainer, where we're going to take this capital we're now consistently saving and use it to build our financial fortress in step 7, the emergency fund.
Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss that next step in the sequence. And for all the charts and to see Tamir Kaham break this all down himself, you've got to check out the full YouTube channel, The Golden Path to Financial Independence. It's really the best way to visualize the entire system in action. So go on, go set up that automatic transfer. Start building the muscle. We'll see you in the next explainer.